The Division 2 has been out for 2+ years now, and I've been kind of playing it on and off recently, but now I finally officially come back to the game, and I'm really enjoying my time playing it. And this is simply going to be a video answering the question of, should you play this game in 2021? Should you pick this up and play The Division 2? And the short answer I have for you is absolutely yes, but it does come with its faults, which I will get to later in the video. I'll be going over in quite brief detail, but I will be leaving timestamps in the description if you just want to skip to the certain parts you want to see, because I understand your time is valuable and I don't want to waste it. So without further ado, sit back and relax, and this is my Division 2 review in 2021. I'm not necessarily going to be going over the full game, I'm mainly going to be going over the stuff that has changed in the last 2 years, and from since I've been gone, basically. So firstly, from level 40 onwards, there are SHD levels with the new Warlords of New York expansion. These are simply just like your mastery or legacy levels from your standard MMO. So once you've hit the level cap, you can keep on leveling up, and with that you get a proficiency cache, and you also get some rewards as well. So in these caches, you basically get just loot and gear drops, and on the off chance, you might even get an exotic, you never know. Also, every time you level up, you get a point into your SHD watch, which gives you the opportunity to spec into either damage or armor or tech or reload speed or dexterity or whatever. And the more you level up, the more you can put points into these, and eventually you will fill them up if you manage to get to a very high level. There are daily and weekly projects which allow you to have constant content on the go. Daily missions obviously are done daily and they refresh every 24 hours, whereas weekly missions or projects take a bit longer to do, but they last you the entire week, and if you complete them, you simply just wait a week until the next weekly project pops up. There's plenty of reasons to do the invaded missions as well, for new weapons and exotics maybe. The drop rates of the exotics have increased a lot as well, I've seen in my playthrough. I've recently pumped another 70 to 100 hours into the game recently, and I've gotten a lot more better weapons and exotics than I have in previous years. Now, I don't know if my luck's necessarily that good or if the drop rates have increased a lot, but I've noticed from playing with a few friends that the drop rates seem to be really good for getting better gear and leveling your character and progressing. So manhunts are from last year, but they're doing season reruns, which I'll get to in a minute. But manhunts, you hunt down 4 targets to get to the main target, and once you've taken out the main target, you get a reward. Simple stuff. They're also doing reruns of last seasons, so if you missed out on the seasons like I did, or if you're a returning player wanting to play them again, or whatever, they're doing a rerun of last year's seasons. And these seasons are much worth playing, as they do come with exclusive exotic weapons and gear and armor sets. Some great stuff about the season passes, there's a bunch of other content within the season pass which make the seasons a lot more fun to play. For example, you've got global events which give certain modifiers to your weapons or a certain directive. One that went by quite recently, for example, was the golden bullet, which an enemy was spawned with the golden bullet being charged up, and if the golden bullet was charged up, the enemy would do a shit ton of damage. But if you kill that enemy in time, you got the golden bullet for a certain amount of time, and every time you kill an enemy, the golden bullet resets, so you get more of the golden bullet. There's also leagues, which are kind of like time trials, which allow you to do levels really quickly and see who can get the highest score. And doing the missions in a certain amount of time will give you stars, which will allow you to take them back to the season vendor to unlock rewards, and you can even get a free exotic from doing these events, which give you more of an incentive to do the seasons. And as you're doing these objectives, you're also progressing in the seasons. And also, it's not a season pass which you have to pay a bit extra for. Once you've owned the core game and Warlords of expansions, these seasons are completely free. And that brings on to my next point. Microtransactions are not that invasive in the game, they're simply for cosmetics, which I really appreciate it. If you play this game a lot and you want to spend a bit of money on a new costume or an outfit, then go for it. You do get textiles from having duplicates from Imperial caches, and you get Imperial caches and reward caches for leveling up and doing daily projects or activities in the world. But once you've gotten enough textiles, you can look into buying a few gear choices of your own. Yes, there are some cosmetics that are exclusively locked behind a paywall, but these are optional. If you play the game a lot and you want to look cool or you want to buy them, then feel free. You're not obligated to buy them, they're just cosmetics, they don't really mean anything. Now, an interesting game mode that I've come back to and I've noticed is the Summit. So the Summit is a massive skyscraper that goes from level 1 to 100. There's a checkpoint every 10 or so levels. Now, the objective of the Summit is to go from level 1 to 100, and on each of these floors there's new objectives, there's new rooms, there's boss fights, there's rogue agents that come after you. The game chucks a lot at you. Finally hit level 100, you have the chance to extract and get out of there and go back to level 1. And once you've got to level 100, you have the chance to go back to level 1 and do it all over again. But this time you have actually unlocked an exotic blueprint to get an exotic chess piece called the Ridge Race Pry, which I'm currently now trying to do. So yeah, the Summit's a really fun mode if you like wave-based modes. It's a good way to level up, test builds, and just in overall, just test out the gunplay and how fun the game can be. And if you're someone who likes a challenge, then don't worry, the game's got you covered. If you like playing on higher difficulties, their difficulties range from normal, hard, challenging, heroic, and legendary. And with these difficulties have directors, which are essentially modifiers. You can have these for the world as well. There's certain modifiers that allow you to have less ammo or enemies do more damage. So you can kind of choose to make your game harder or easier, if you prefer. What's nice though is that with these modifiers you get bonus XP, so every modifier you put on or directive you put on gives you plus 25% bonus XP. However, it does make the game harder, so there's a flip-flop between those two. There's also weapon modification for every weapon. There's also recalibration for every weapon, which allows you to change certain stats on weapons. There's optimization, which allows you to, if you do have the amount of parts or weapon parts for a certain weapon type, you can boost that certain weapon's attributes that you choose, and this makes building builds a lot of fun. My next point is builds in the game. They're addicting to spend time on. You'll spend hours in the White House just mixing builds, making builds, whatever gear sets you find you want to make builds for. And there's a playstyle for every kind of person. If you're someone like me who likes to run in guns blazing with a shield, go for it. If you're someone who's a tank and you want to be a bit more buffy and take a lot more damage, there's always a build for you. And on the flip side, if you're someone who likes having your tech rely on stuff, you can sit in the back with a sniper whilst your drones go in and explode some people. If you're someone who likes to sit back with a sniper and let your drones go in and do the work, you can do that. There's a playstyle for every type of player in this game, which I think is commendable, to say the least. So with all the good stuff out the way, there are some cons with this game, which I will get to now. Firstly, the Dark Zone is very unbalanced. I think the PvP in this game is still very unbalanced, and it's a bit of a letdown. The PvP goes like this. If you have a god build, you are going to do amazingly. You'll shit on everyone. But if you're someone who's just going in there with a random build, you're not going to have a very good time. The problem is, even if you have a decent build with a lot of damage, there is always going to be someone with that better rolled gear, with that better maxed out build. And there's people who have, keep in mind, spent years on this game. And also with the Dark Zone, if you're going in on your own, expect to get completely wiped out by rogues. Rogue groups absolutely plague the Dark Zone, and it makes it a bit unfun when you're just trying to play the game normally. I think the game would benefit a lot by having an open Dark Zone, which players can go in and play with groups or non-groups, and have a solo Dark Zone experience. A solo Dark Zone experience would make an even playing field for everyone, I believe. That's just my opinion. So overall, the Dark Zone is good if you have a full team of people, but if you don't, you're going on your own. You're going to get shit on, I'm afraid. There's just no way around it. That's why I kind of prefer playing Conflict. Even though I'm pretty bad at Conflict, I do still enjoy Conflict, as it's a 4v4 situation. It's a team-based effort, and it feels a lot more fair than going to the Dark Zone then getting ganked by 4 Russian people who just spam toxic abuse at you. And the Dark Zone does bring out the worst in some people. I myself am guilty of spouting out random shit to people because they have just one-tapped me. But mainly because I'm in a 1v1 and I fairly beat someone in 1v1, but then the next thing you know, 3 other people come around the corner and completely shit on me. So yeah, the Dark Zone's not very fun in my opinion. But enough about the Dark Zone, I'll talk a bit more about skills. So the Division 2 has latency issues. I'm experiencing these myself with the mouse. Either the mouse kind of stutters when it turns. I'm not too sure why. I don't know if it's linked to VSync or not. I'm trying to find a workaround. But also with the skills, whenever I tap a skill, sometimes it doesn't respond. For example, my E and my Q builds for my left and my right build, they're now bound to my mouse, so on my 2 mouse buttons. But it happened before I bound them to my mouse buttons. Sometimes my shield wouldn't come out, but when I'm using my tech build, sometimes my drone wouldn't come out, or my seeker mines wouldn't come out when I wanted them to. In the first game, it's weird, because in the first game, I went back and recently visited the first game to see how it was getting on. And whilst playing the first game, I noticed that the movement in the game was a lot quicker and responsive, which is weird, right? Because you expect the sequel to be quicker. But unfortunately, it just doesn't feel as quick or as solid as the first game. And this isn't me completely shitting on the game. No, the game is still amazing. But I feel like there are just some instances where the latency, and especially with the skills, are a bit unresponsive. And also, what is a massive fault in this game is the anti-cheat. Now, I'm not saying that I'm running into cheaters left, right, and centre. That's not what I'm saying. I actually have together a bit of a weird excuse for the anti-cheat being a bit stupid. Basically, I wanted to record this video using OBS, but for some reason when I load OBS up, the anti-cheat picks up as a cheating software, which I guess I'm a cheater now because I'm using OBS, right? No. Which clearly shows a fault in the anti-cheat system, because I have seen some clips online that people are bypassing the anti-cheat system, and there are still some cheaters and hackers in the Dark Zone. And the reason you can't really go back and play the Dark Zone in the first game is because it is filled with hackers and cheaters. And even though the anti-cheat works sometimes in the second game, I have seen people online posting videos and evidence and proof of hacking still going around in the Dark Zone. And in Conflict as well, not just the DZ. So yeah, the anti-cheat is a bit of fault, so if you want 100% safety, it's probably best you stick to PvE in this game, which PvE takes up, I would say, 80 to 90% of the content. So if you're going to buy this game for the PvE, you have plenty of content. You're absolutely fine. But another complaint is now on the top of my mind, which is finding a raid group. So in PvE, there are these things called raids. There are 2 of them. They require 8 players with 2 subgroups, 4 players each. And finding groups to raid with in this game is an absolute nightmare. You need to have a party of 8 people to officially do the raid. You can hop in discovery mode and do the raid, but it's discovery mode. Not many people want to play that because you don't get the rewards for doing the raid. People just want to play the raid itself, which gets you the rewards, which gives you a chance at the exclusive exotics that you get from the raid. One of them being the Eagle Bearer, which is probably one of the best guns in the entire game. But unfortunately, there isn't a very good party system or a system that allows people to find each other. You kind of just have to spend all your time spamming the chat in hopes to get a group going. I managed to get a group going after an hour of just grueling attempts to find players, but the problem with that is that they haven't done the raid before. Neither have I. I've researched it and I know what I'm doing, but if you're with a group of people that don't know what they're doing, but you know what you're doing, it makes it absolute hell to communicate and get shit done. Also, a big problem is, for raids, you need to be communicating. And the problem is, if you're playing with randoms, or if you're playing with people who aren't going to talk down their mic and are antisocial, or their mics don't work, then there's just no point in partying up for a raid. You need to come off of the game and go onto the game's Discord. There are sub-Discords that are looking for people to raid with, but I just feel like it's an absolute ball ache to try and get a raid group in this game, and I'm still looking for a group to raid with. I really want to do these raids and get lucky, hopefully get lucky at getting the Eagle Bearer, but unfortunately the way the system works is that you just, like I said, have to hope that people see your messages in the chat and, you know, want to add you as a friend and invite you. I have about 50 plus people on my friends list now that I've tried to raid with, and as soon as I raid with them, they either disconnect or they've got to go. When you're in the middle of a raid, you've taken the time to accept the invitation and you're here for the raid. The raids take a long time. If you're not going to be here for a long time, don't accept the raid invitations, like, for crying out loud. So yeah, if you are looking to raid, I would recommend looking in Discord servers. I'd recommend looking at subreddits and groups that are always looking to find people to raid with. But if you are a first time person looking to raid and you're quite new to it, make sure you find people that do know what they're doing so you can learn from them and you can learn how to do the raid through them, and people that are helpful and are willing to teach, because there are some really good people in this community. So in conclusion, that is going to be the video. Overall, the game is absolutely 100% worth picking up in 2021, especially that we've got content coming next year in 2022 as well, after these reruns have been done and dusted. So if you're worried about hopping in and catching up, you've got plenty of time to hop in, catch up with the rest of us, and get some good gear, get some loot, and join us out in Washington. And I believe that is the video. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to click on this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If not, have a nice day. But in all seriousness, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Take it easy, and goodbye.